everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Keep It on the DL. I'm Louis Angelillo, along with Dev. And Dev, we're able to squeeze one in this week. Didn't look like too promising, but we're able to figure out time here to get you guys a podcast in. But let's jump into the World Series reaction. Game 4. You thought, I had the Dodgers in 5. It really should have been Dodgers in 5. But Game 4, Kenley Jansen comes in, gives up I believe it was an infield single to start the inning, then gets a quick out, a little jam shot into center field, gets booted by Chris Taylor, then hits the cutoff man. Muncy then throws it to Will Smith's arm side. He reaches for it, thinking Arozarena is coming in, sliding to the plate, goes to swipe down the tag. Arozarena falls going around third base. The ball goes to the backstop. Jansen's not backing up. And then Arozarena is able to get back on his feet and then run in and score the second run of a 2-run error single by none other than Brett Phillips. That's how that game ended. And from right there, I was like, are the Rays going to take this momentum and win this series? But part of me was like, you know what? The Dodgers got rolled by the Braves in one of their games, and then they came back and won the series. So I knew that this Dodger team was going to be resilient and come back and bounce back, and that's exactly what they did. But give me your Game 4 take first, because wow, what an ending that was.
Yeah, arguably one of the best endings of any baseball game in history, honestly, in my opinion. That is going to go down in the history books. And, I know I told you, Lou, but I went to Game 5 on Sunday in Dallas, and we were at a concert on Saturday. Can you believe that? And I was streaming it during the concert with my friends, and I could not believe the ending of that game. It was complete mayhem. I don't know where Muncy was throwing that ball. It's almost like he threw that into the
what
dirt.
happened? He was thinking I think it was like a typical relay home, and then he saw Arozarena fell, and that altered the throw. I think when he saw Arozarena fall, his whole intention was to get that ball home, and then he kind of saw him fall and then not really running home hard, and that slight moment of hesitation in your arm or a twitch in your arm where you're like, you try to hold on to the ball for that second, and you all of a sudden you yank the throw like that. It happens. That's what I think happened to Muncy.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. So it definitely helped Randy out by slipping a little bit.
Yeah.
But man, that's going to go down in history books. Like I said, that is an unbelievable ending. And by the way, just a quick little tidbit. Did you know Kenley Jansen came up as a catcher?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I saw a clip of him. Actually, believe it or not, he was catching for the Netherlands in the World Baseball Classic, I believe in like 06.
Wow.
Yeah, great. I couldn't believe it. Very random. But anyway, yeah, man, that was something else. The Dodgers should have won in Game 4 easily. They were a strike away. They were a strike away twice. Jansen had Arozarena and then Phillips in 2 strike counts and couldn't get the job done.
Yeah, it's tough. Randy Arozarena breaking the record for the most hits in the postseason. That was a tough at-bat for Jansen. I know he was ahead in the at-bat, but you can't give in to Arozarena. You're not going to challenge that guy. You'd rather walk him in that situation. So I don't totally blame Jansen for not getting Arozarena out, although he really had the chance to, being ahead in the count. Arozarena just wouldn't bite. But yeah, then you got to get Brett Phillips out, a man that wasn't even on the ALCS roster. Wasn't even on the ALCS roster, and they don't get him out.
It's just up until Game 6, which we'll talk about in a second, it was just cliche Kevin Cash managing. How did he know? This guy had, I believe, 1 hit since July, if I'm not mistaken. And he pinch hits him in the bottom of the 9th of a World Series game to tie the game, let alone to win it. Like, why? How did he know that? I don't get it. I just don't understand it. And he eventually shot himself in the foot in Game 6, which we'll talk about in a second. But Man, what a call by Kevin Cash, man.
Yep, but what wasn't a good call by Kevin Cash was Game 6. I mean, Blake Snell is rolling through that Dodger lineup, has 6 strikeouts and spots 1, 2, and 3 in the order, and bam, pulls him after a 9-hitter Austin Barnes jam shot single, going to face the order 3 times around, and that's it. Blake Snell's day is done. They pull him with 73 pitches in the 6th inning, and I don't know how Blake Snell even walks off that mound. I'm not walking off that mound. I'm just like, I don't care what you just did. You have to undo it, and that's it. You know? You can't. You cannot take out your pitcher in that situation. It's unbelievable to me that they take out Snell in that scenario when he has been nothing short of brilliant through 5 innings.
I mean, what more could you want from your starting pitcher? You know, I mean, you're trying to force a Game 7. You would want your bullpen healthy for a Game 7. It's Snell's last start of the season regardless. He wouldn't come out of the pen in Game 7 anyway. When he's rolling like that, I mean, if there's ever a time for you to want your starting pitcher to have a complete game, it's then.
Right.
You know, especially with how he was rolling through the lineup. I mean, the top of the order, they were like a combined, I believe, 0 for 11 through 6 against him. It was something crazy.
0 through 11 with like 8 strikeouts.
With like 8 Ks, yeah, exactly. So, I listen, man. I don't understand why he did it. No rhyme or reason. It's exactly how you would want to write it up, and he just went completely against it. He outmanaged himself, and nothing more than that.
Completely did. Overthought. I don't. You know what though? He said what's something that stood out to me is before this postseason, he gave a quote that said, "If you're managing with your gut, that means you're not prepared." So this was a predetermined decision.
Jeez.
I mean, you need
Yikes.
to make gut decisions in the playoffs. That's what managing is. You can't just say, we're going by the book here, this is what we're doing, Snell 2 times around, and then bam, we're going to our bullpen, to Nick Anderson, who has given up runs in 6 of his last 6 appearances in the postseason. He has given up a run. So you go to that guy who's guaranteed to basically, the numbers are showing you, hey, he's going to give up a run. He's been pretty damn good at giving up at least a run in all his appearances in those last 6 in the postseason. So you go to a guy like Nick Anderson, doesn't get the job done. I think everyone was rooting for him not to get the job done. I think people that were rooting for the Rays in the series kind of said, wow, now I hope they lose. Wow, now I hope they lose. Because, man, that was the worst decision maybe in World Series history by a manager. Really was.
It really was.
In terms of a pitching change, I mean, it's got to be. It's got to be, especially in a win-or-go-home game for the Rays. Just, wow. It's really unbelievable. And you put, like I said, you put in a guy that's given up runs in 6 of his last 6 appearances. And what that does to a Dodger team, I mean, you and I have played baseball, but when you're facing a team that has a pitcher that has absolutely gashed you through 6 innings, you're like, how do we get this guy out of the game? And the manager just gives you a gift like that, I don't care who you bring in, you're going to be rejuvenated. I don't care if Mariano Rivera is coming out of that bullpen. You're kind of like, oh, thank God Blake Snell is out of this game. Yeah, it does not matter who comes in. You are so pumped up that you don't have to face that guy anymore.
You're so right, Lou. As a hitter, I mean, as soon as you see Snell walking out off that mound, it's not even anything where a hitter has to kind of reflect on himself and be like, man, thank God Snell's out of the game. Like, it's just automatic. Like, you just feel a huge sigh of relief, you know? And then you see this next guy coming out of the bullpen, regardless of what his stats were, giving up 6 earned in his past 6 appearances, you're going to feel better getting back up into the box compared to what they did all game. There's no rhyme or reason. It really does make me speechless with what Cash did, man. It's just, I really, really do not understand it. I don't know how you could defend it. Snell was very clearly pissed off after the game, and rightfully so. I mean, what more did you want him to do? What more could you have possibly asked from your ace?
Yep. I mean, just horrible decision there. And just rejuvenated a Dodger team. Just totally rejuvenated that lineup. But
It really did. And real quickly, before we move on to the other games, since I'm sure we'll move into Game 5 right now, 1-4 games 1-4 were really dull, in my opinion.
But 1 through 3,
really. But 1 through 3, 1 through 3. Yes, you're right. But 4, 5, 6, each of them had such a unique storyline that it made up for the rest of the series.
Yep. Really did. And in Game 5, the Rays ran themselves right out of an inning. Man, Emmanuel Margot tries to steal home, which people have done on Kershaw before. He knows what to do because obviously he does his set where he brings his hands well over his head, brings him down slowly, and he broke for home. Kershaw, that steps off the mound, fires right to the catcher, and tags Margot's hand before he slides in there. I mean, Rays had first and third in that inning, nobody out, didn't score, and you could really say that's where this series flipped, right there in that moment, at least that game. But, wow, they ran themselves out of that inning, and then it just went on to a smooth 3-1 Dodger win.
Yeah, exactly. 4-2. 4-2.
It was 3-1 at the time, right? 3-1 at the time, 4-2
yes.
final? Okay.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. I mean, just like how you said, Lou, I mean, the Rays shot themselves in the foot that game. I mean, it was there. Kershaw was not sharp. You know, he had a good first 2 innings, and then the middle half of his outing, he was not locating his stuff. His velocity was not there at all. He wasn't topping more than 93. But the pitch that has always gotten him out of jams his whole entire career, that almost like ephus curveball that just kind of just 12-6 just drops in there like 72-mile-an-hour pitch. That was working for him all night, and it got him out of a few jams. But like you said, I understand the aggressiveness on – it was Margot who stole him, right? I think, right? I understand the aggressiveness, of course, on Margot. I mean, you have a left-hander with a slow wind-up left-hander, so his back is facing you. When you're on third, it's worked in the past, but, I mean, you had first and third, no out. I mean, there's no need for that. You know, you had 2 chances to get that run in, and you're just wasting. You take the bat out of the batter's hands when you do stuff like that in a winner go home.
And
series.
to do it in a World Series, you better make sure you're safe.
Yeah,
do that in a World. If you do it in a regular season game, all right, you tried to steal one. But in the World Series, you better be safe.
Gotta make it count.
You better be safe. But so happy for Kershaw getting a ring. I really am. He's been, I mean, regardless of his struggles in the postseason, this guy has been the most dominant pitcher in baseball for the last 10 years. It's not even close.
Absolutely.
It's not even close. Clayton Kershaw has been the best pitcher in baseball over the last 10 years, and he notched his 206th postseason strikeout, topping him on the all-time list there. And my last thing here with the World Series and Kevin Cash was, and just we got to just mention the analytical side of baseball. And analytics are great. Analytics need to be recognized. Analytics can give you a feel of when I need to make the decisions and when I have to pinch hit or when I have to pull a pitcher. It can all help with that. You can notice that. I think they should definitely be noticed when going through analytics. But when you're in the World Series and you're in crunch time, I mean, analytics can go out the window. You need to go with what you feel and what is going to put your team in the best position to win. And right there, I mean, Blake Snell was definitely going to give his team the best chance to win going past well into the game after the 6th inning. And Cash has done in Game 2, I believe, he had Glasnow throw a career high 112 pitches in the 5th inning when Glasnow didn't even have it. He didn't even have it. And he let him go 112 pitches into the 5th inning and then finally pulls him. I mean, just trying to talk about people that it was so different the way he treats those two. It's crazy. And I think Glasnow is completely overrated. I mean, this guy gives up 4 runs a game in the postseason.
He's
given up like 4 runs a game in every start in the postseason, and we're treating him like he's Pedro Martinez and Roger Clemens. He's nothing near that. He's a guy with a great fastball and a great curveball and has no third pitch. That's what Tyler Glasnow is. Great fastball, great curve. I mean, he could put him in the bullpen. I think he'd be better there, to be totally honest with you.
Well, he's a guy that gives you length, obviously. He's thrown over 110 pitches. He did in the postseason, I believe, twice. And he just throws gas. You know, he touched 102 a few times in Game 5.
That's great for a reliever. I think that he's be a great all type reliever for the Dodgers.
But Lou, and we've talked about this like how you said, I hate how analytics literally runs baseball.
Right.
There's no common sense anymore. It's all analytics. Honestly, what the hell do you need a manager for? You can have the head of the analytics department manage your baseball team.
Yep. And honestly, I was talking with a few buddies yesterday about it, and I said you can construct your lineup through analytics. You can, break down pitches and batters and how to approach a hitter and how to approach a pitcher through analytics. But when that time comes, your manager, you hire a manager to make tough decisions. And he needs to make those tough decisions on his own, not through some nerd in the press box. He's not the one that should be making the decisions. You have managers like, we'll get to in a second, but Tony La Russa just got hired by the White Sox. He's not going to be your analytical manager. Buck Showalter is not going to be your analytical manager. I mean, you can't win based on analytics, and the Rays showed that. And you saw Dave Roberts throw Julio Urias through he did it twice. He just said, go out there and give me like the Goose Gossage save, 7, 8, 9. He did it. And Dave, I thought Roberts did a great job in this series. And as much as, you can hate Roberts for that stolen base in Game 4 of the ALCS, but I did feel some kind of relief and happiness for him that he was able to win that World Series and as a manager and, just break this, not become the four falls of the Buffalo Bills here.
Exactly. I'm very happy for Roberts too. I obviously hate him for 04, and it's the first thing I think of every single time I see his damn face. I just see him getting up from second base in Fenway in that series. But going back to analytics, the two sports that are heavily reliant on analytics are baseball, clear number one, and believe it or not, hockey is number two. Arguably my two favorite sports. Very heavily reliant on analytics. And hockey is not too far behind baseball. But everyone used to make fun of Joe Girardi. Everyone used to call him Binder Joe because he was living off the analytics stuff and matchups and everything. Predetermined things and not going with the game flow. There's no such thing as common sense in baseball anymore. There really isn't. Any other manager, you could think of the La Russas of the world, obviously the Joe Torres, maybe even the Franconas. Terry Francona's been around for a long time. Maybe even Joe Madden, but he's kind of progressive. But you have these guys that would have kept Snell in the damn game. How do you... I don't know, man. It gets me so pissed off. Even though I wanted the Dodgers to win this series, how you take Snell out of this game. It's right there in front of you. What are you going to venture off into the binder for to take this guy out when he is dealing and giving you everything that your team would want? I just don't get it. I just don't understand the reliance on analytics. Like you said, they are amazing. I love looking at stats and reading about them, and I think they're so cool. They're amazing. But they have too much control on the damn game, and I hope a lot of organizations and owners and GMs look at Cash's decision and say, whoa, we shouldn't be doing this as much anymore. It's not going to happen, but I wish it does.
Yeah, and with that'll end the World Series and pretty much the end of the COVID season, and obviously another story that came out was Justin Turner testing positive and getting removed in the 8th inning of the game, and the joke was Turner played with COVID on the field longer than Blake Snell got left in the game. But you got Turner, then he comes out and he celebrates, even though he does have COVID, and that was a little questionable decision on his part to run out on the field like that, and perhaps, infect other teammates and family members and so on and so forth. But you only win a World. You can't win a World Series every year. It comes very seldomly, and if it's his only one, is he not going to go out there and celebrate? So I don't want to put hate on Justin Turner here. It was not smart of him to do what he did, but I can't imagine the feelings that he had just running inside of him saying, I got to get on the field. But it was it's not a good look for baseball that happened, but I'm not going to be mad at anyone about this. I'm not going to be mad at the MLB. I'm not going to be mad at Justin Turner. It's just an unfortunate situation that I'm going to say Turner did not handle well, but I'm not in his shoes. I don't know what it's like to win a World Series, and I bet that everything would come off. If Altuve has to take off his jersey after hitting that walk-off against Chapman, then, come on. You have so much emotions running through you. I can't blame Justin Turner.
Absolutely not. And I understand the hate, but you cannot blame him either. It's legitimately a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I want to look something up here because Justin Turner, he's been in the league forever, it seems like. He's been in the league since 2009 when he started with the Orioles. And it's took him 11 years for him to win his first World Series title. This guy played 11 seasons of Major League Baseball, never won a championship, finally gets that opportunity. You can't blame him for going out there and celebrating. Is he going to get backlash? Absolutely. Was it selfish? It probably was a little bit. But you know what? I guarantee you his manager and his teammates, everybody who he's been grinding with for these long 8 months since pitchers and catchers reported, don't blame him at all either. It's just a very bad look on Major League Baseball. They should be thanking the Dodgers for winning that damn game, because if there was a Game 7, oh my God, I don't know what would have happened. Like you said, we were texting that night, but it probably would have been postponed for a week to 10 days, and we would have had a winner-take-all World Series after a 7 to 10 day layoff, with these teams not getting any. Yeah,
but I think once the test might have stopped, that's when once they stop getting positive tests, and you're just going to have to play with whoever was COVID positive is just off the team. And you're just going to kind of have to fill in guys. So it definitely would have been a wild Game 7. And before we forget, Corey Seager won MVP. Well deserved. He crushed it. He crushed it this postseason. I know, Dev, we were talking. You said, I kind of like the bet's value at MVP. And I said, you know what? I really like Seager to win MVP. He's been having a great postseason. Yeah. And sure enough, it happened. But if there was a Game 7 and Walker Buehler won Game 7, that would have been your MVP. He would have stolen it from Seager. So Seager knew he had to get it done in 6 to keep that MVP from Buehler.
Well, I want to tell you something, too, is the only reason why I was really leaning towards Mookie was because DraftKings had an odds boost for Mookie at great value, plus 1,500, but it was a maximum of a $10 bet. So I put the $10 on Mookie, and then I listened to you, and I was like, you know what? Seager's been killing it. I put 25 on Seager at plus 1,300. Obviously, that hit.
So when am I seeing my half?
Thank you for that, Lou. Yeah, it'll be in the mail tomorrow.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I got you.
I thought we were in on that together. I need to see my half there, Dev. I don't give advice for free.
I got you. Yeah, I know you don't. Not even your damn co-host.
No free advice from me. But that'll wrap up our World Series talk. Congrats to the Major League Baseball for getting this done. And before we move on to other sports, other baseball news, really quick, La Russa hired as the White Sox manager, and A.J. Hinch looks like he's taken over the Tigers position left vacant by Ron Gardenhire, and Ryan Braun's tenure with the Brewers is also over. So those are your three little storylines in baseball right now. We'll see how La Russa does with a young team. Like the White Sox have, a lot of teams want to get that, the young hit manager, player-friendly manager, which I don't really think La Russa is. But I think La Russa is a great manager, and I like to see what he's going to do with this White Sox team. I think this White Sox team is only going to improve in the next few seasons, and they have a real shot at a title run coming in the next few years. And as for A.J. Hinch, whole cheating scandal thing back in baseball, and he'll be going to the Tigers where he's going to have his work cut out for him. He's going to need to rebuild that team the way he rebuilt the Astros from basically nothing. Chris Carter was their 4-hitter in like 2014 or something like that. But you have to rebuild the Tigers. Let's see what he can do there. But A.J. Hinch did come out and say, he was against the whole cheating thing. He was aware that it was happening, but wasn't for it, and so on and so forth. So he's getting a second chance with Detroit. We'll see what he can do there. But those are your baseball headlines after the World Series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nothing really much for me to add there, but I don't know. I just think Hinch should have gotten a stricter.
Well, forget about Hinch. I think the Astros should have gotten a stricter penalty.
Well, obviously,
Hinch
the
was
Astros
the only fair
too,
one, I think. Hinch was the only fair one you can say. But yeah, those Astros needed to get more punished. But now on to football, where you saw Arozarena fall down around third base. We also saw Daniel Jones take a stumble. That 19-yard line comes up pretty quick in Philly. But I mean, that play, I still laugh at it. I think that play was awesome. It wouldn't be awesome if they didn't get in the end zone, but they did get in the end zone, thankfully. But if they don't get in the end zone there, it's not so funny. But now it's funny.
Right.
Because they did end up getting in the end zone. But let's just...
Yeah.
You can knock them all you want. I've never ran at 21.6 miles an hour, and I'm sure if I did, I'd be falling. So I'm not going to knock Daniel Jones for falling there. Plenty of people fall down running really fast. So I can't necessarily blame him. I know the tight end for the Bills also fell along the sideline, had a wide open look at a touchdown in Sunday's game against the Jets. But the Giants I cannot believe they blew that dang game. 21-20 ended up, it was 20, they were up 21-12? 10? 21-10?
10, I think, yeah. I think so.
After it was 21-16, you kind of go, oh, God, here we go. And then Evan Ingram drops the ball, and then you almost want to turn off the TV because you know how that one ends.
Yep.
Just a rough loss. I mean, the Giants could be in first place in the NFC East right now, and they're in last. That tells you all you need to know about the NFC. But, what a killer loss for the Giants. Other Giants news, Willie Hernandez tests positive for COVID, but no one else on the Giants did. So that's relief. So it looks like they're on track to play Monday night against the Bucs in a high of 39 and wind in that game. So that's an under game if you ask me. So just the gross conditions to play in that Monday night game. And the Giants also let go of linebacker Marcus Golden, traded him for a 6th-round pick to the Arizona Cardinals. Golden was kind of disappointing this year. I think he only had 7 tackles on the year, 1.5 sacks, just not having a season like he did last year with the Giants. So they let him go to Arizona for a 6th-round pick. Now, Dev, I'm just going to throw these next NFL news at you. You tell me, your biggest news here. Bengals trading defensive end Dunlap to the Seahawks. You got Odell with a torn ACL done for the year. and Antonio Brown signing with the Bucs, likely to make his debut Week 9.
I mean, I'm done with AB News. The guy hasn't played he's played what, 2 games in the past 2 years. He played 1 game for the Pats last year, and then that was it. I mean, I don't know. The Bucs really don't need that firepower.
They don't.
It's whatever. They don't need that firepower at all. They got Evans, who isn't doing anything anyway. Godwin's hurt with a fractured finger. Fournette's coming back. They still got Ronald Jones. Obviously, they got Brady, and the Brady and Gronk connection seems to be coming along really good now, starting to look really good again. But I do want to talk about that Odell news because I think that's going to be really big for the Browns. Baker's had a resurgence this year. Odell's had a better year than he's had the past year, ever since last year, since he got traded. And this is going to be Jarvis Landry's time to shine, man. He's going to be Baker's number 1, and as if Baker didn't have enough scrutiny out in Cleveland to say if he's the guy, can he really put the team on his back, continue his great play without really his number 1 wide receiver? I think that this opens up opportunity for Kareem Hunt too, for him to say, listen, I'm still a number 1 running back in this league. So, yeah. Everson Griffin, he got traded to the Lions. I'm just pulling up the specifics here. From the Cowboys, let me pull this up. Let's see. It was actually in exchange for a future undisclosed draft pick. So the Lions get a defensive end that they need to create some pressure on their defense. Griffin, he appeared in all 7 games for Dallas this year. Not that defense is any good at all. 20 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and he spent his first 10 years for the Vikings, of course. Made a name for himself up in Minnesota, so he's returning back to the NFC North. So good for not good for the Cowboys, but good for the Lions. The Lions are playing very good football right now. A crazy win down in Atlanta. Matt Patricia is trying to save his job. I still think he's a really, really good coach. Stafford is playing like Stafford. Galladay's having a tough time staying on the field, but it is what it is. But I do want to say real quick about the Detroit Lions. I'm very, very happy to see DeAndre Swift. He's starting to come along a little bit. There were a lot of question marks with that backfield coming into the season. They still have Adrian Peterson. They still have Kerryon Johnson and DeAndre Swift now. And it seems like Swift is getting that RB1 role. I believe he has 2 touchdowns in his past 2 games, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely 2 in the past 3. So that'll be big for them if Swift can solidify his RB1 status with the Lions. But from a fantasy perspective, I'd still stay away from that backfield. AP is still going to get touches. He's still averaged about 11 to 12 touches a game, and they throw the ball a ton. So definitely stay away from.
Yeah, I mean, DeAndre Swift looks like he is taking that role. I'd play him. DeAndre Swift's the guy to play. He is. He's got, I think, over 15 fantasy points in his last 2 or 3 games. He's taken over as that clear number 1 there. I really like DeAndre Swift going forward for the Lions. But yeah, all those trades, and you just see the Cowboys falling apart here. I mean, they got washed by the football team on Sunday. 25-3 final. Dalton took a hit to the head, left the game. Ben DiNucci comes in.
Brutal,
I mean,
man.
Ben DiNucci is the starting quarterback on Sunday, I believe. And the Eagles are, I think, 10.5-point favorites. I think that line almost went up a touchdown. I really think that line opened around 3.5, 4.5, and I think it's at 10.5 right now. Jeez. So just some crazy stuff line movement wise in that game. But yeah, the Cowboys are horrible. They could honestly finish last in this NFC East if Dalton doesn't come back or look anything remotely like the Andy Dalton that took those Bengals to those playoffs in those years. But
have you ever seen the defense play this bad, Lou, in your life? It'd be this much of like Swiss cheese? It's unbelievable how many points this defense gives up.
I'm sure there's comparable defenses. I can't go out on the limb and say they're the worst defense I've ever seen because Jalen Smith is still a really good linebacker in the middle of that defense. There are teams that have what the Cowboys have, but no Jalen Smith before. So I can't say that they're the worst defense I've ever seen, but they're up there. They're horrible this year. They're definitely the worst in the league this year. But, I mean, previous years, that Dolphins, the Browns 0-16 team, the Dolphins 0-16 team. I mean, those teams too. You can't forget about those, how horrible those defenses had to be to go 0-16. But let's get to, before we get to our locks of the week, we actually forgot this one bit of news here. Yankees bringing back Zach Britton in 2022 and decline options on Gardner and Happ. So Gardner and Happ will hit free agency. Britton will be back through 2022 on a $14 million deal.
Now sign LeMahieu.
22, yeah. Now LeMahieu needs to be next here. And we just want to mention this before we do picks quick. Trevor Lawrence did test positive for COVID, so he will be out for Clemson, potentially returning in a Notre Dame game in 10 days from now or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's that. All right, picks. Dev, I smoked you last week. I needed that. Needed that to get back in.
You did.
I took Green Bay as my lock last week. They beat the Texans handedly, and Detroit. I mean, you talked about that Detroit game now against the Falcons last week. Just Todd Gurley getting in the end zone, needing to go down at the 1. You run it down, and then you kick the field goal, and the Lions still cover my 2.5. But after he scored, I'm like, no, the Lions aren't going to cover anymore. But, wow, I should have known that it was the Falcons' defense. Drives down the field, and bam, touchdown. Lions win, Lewis covers, 23-22 final. What a wild rush that game was, betting-wise, in that game. Absolutely amazing. So I picked up my max 8 points. Dev, you only got 1 point because the Bills won over the Jets. I really don't even think I should give you that 1 point.
You really
I really shouldn't.
Don't even give it to me.
Don't even give it to you?
Don't give it to me. Don't even give it to me.
I'll cross it
now,
off. I mean, you have a 9-point lead right now. I'll make it an 8-point lead.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to make a rule. If it's more than a touchdown spread, you don't get point for the win. That'll be a new rule.
That's fine.
Wow.
I don't think you should get a win. I don't think you should get, if you're picking a spread, I don't think you should get a win for the team anyway.
Yep.
That's my thing. I'm going on the record.
Upset wins. I like to give a little upset win incentive there. And if you're taking a -3 spread and the team wins, they win by 1 or 2. It's like you really had the right pick, but that stinks. So less than a touchdown spread will give you a point. But your Raiders, as your upset pick, got rolled by the Bucs. And with that, I'm going to tell you that this week, the Raiders are my upset pick. For some reason, Dev, 2.5-point spreads, take the points. Always do it. Honestly, you could take the money line. The only time where I think a 2.5-point spread didn't win was the Washington over the Giants, and they covered this year. 2.5-point spreads this year are unbelievable. 1.5, 2.5 points. If you're getting that, take the money. You could honestly just take the money line at that point because it only lost once. The money line only lost once in those games. I'm taking the Raiders 2.5 this week as my upset pick, and my lock this week is what I tell you my lock was?
You told me your lock.
I'm looking now. It was
What's your lock? Oh, you said the Saints?
Did I say the Saints or was I changing it?
You said
I think I might have said the Saints. Saints. I'm going to go Saints. Saints -5 over the Bears. The Bears are looking horrible after that Sunday performance against the Rams. They did not look good whatsoever. But I'm going to take the Saints -5. I think the Bears hit a little bit of a rough patch here. They're 5-2 record. I don't really think they're a 5-2 team, and I think that'll average out in the next couple of weeks. I think they'll be 6-5 by the time you know it. So I'm going to take the Saints -5 and the Raiders +2.5. What do you like this week?
Yeah, I'm very tempted to. Like I said off the air, I took the Raiders in a few parlays this week. Right now, they're plus 128 on DraftKings. That is way too good a value. I think the Browns are frauds, especially with that Odell injury. I think that's going to hurt them a lot. My lock of the week, I agree with you to the heavens on that Packers minus 3.5 against the Texans. I don't know how they were giving the Texans only 3.5. That was the easiest bet of the season. I think the same thing is going to occur with the Rams going into Miami. The Rams defense looks awesome. Tua's first career start. No bad weather to worry about, even though I hate that whole cross-country crap. Don't worry about that. Rams are legit. They look really good on Monday night against the Bears. Hammer the Rams minus 3.5 in Miami. And I think that there could be a few upsets this week. We keep talking about the Raiders. The Pats I could see winning. The Bengals I could see winning. The Lions. You could potentially see the Niners maybe. But I think there's a lot of value. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the only undefeated team in the league. Did they almost choke last week against the Titans? Yes. Are they on the road in Baltimore against a team coming off a bye? Yes. But both defenses are very solid. This offense for Baltimore is not like how it was last year. Definitely not as potent. And the Steelers right now, I'm looking at DraftKings again, plus 190. I mean, that's very tough to turn down for an only undefeated team. Granted, a divisional matchup. So my lock, the Rams, minus 3.5. My upset pick, which really shouldn't even be upset, is the Steelers money line. Also, take that under in that game because there are going to be no points scored in that game with two great defenses.
Well, there you have it. Those are our picks for the week. I got the Saints minus 5, Oakland plus 2.5. Dev, you have the Rams minus 3.5, and Pittsburgh plus 4.5. And there's a lot of over-unders to like this week as well, but we don't give free advice. All right. That's going to wrap it up for this week. And we'll see you next week, guys.